Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderfall Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. So last night, or a couple of days ago, GW put up their vote for the 2020 Miniature of the Year, which is pretty cool. There's a bunch of amazing miniatures that have been released this year, despite all the things that have gone on with 2020. We've had some fantastic releases, even though the world has been turned upside down by events I'm sure you all know about. However, I thought I'd put together my own top 10 list of miniatures released this year, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what your top 10 miniatures are, or what even just your favourite miniature released this year was. Your favourite miniature release this year might not even be a part of an army that you normally collect. I mean, for me, I picked up a massive amount of Lumineth Realm Lords this year. I picked up the new 40k. I painted up my Zinch as well, and some of them don't even include my favourite miniatures. Like, some of them don't even get a look in the list of my top miniatures. And some are miniatures that I've never picked up, but are just some of my favourite miniatures that one day I'd like to just grab and paint and have on my shelf because I think they're awesome miniatures. The Miniature of the Year started around in 2016. GW used to, really when GW started getting back into this habit of talking to the community again. And so 2016's Miniature of the Year was Magnus the Red. We then had Mortarion for 2017, the Noise Marine, that fantastic miniature, coming back for 2018, and then we had Abaddon the Despoiler for 2019. I'd be really interested to see what 2020's Miniature of the Year is. We've had some fantastically awesome big miniatures released, such as like the Silent King for Necrons. Teclis has come out, and there's a bunch of great miniatures in the whole Lumineth Realm Lords range. But even smaller games like Blood Bowl has hit it with miniatures out the park this year. Those referees are fantastic. And even Underworlds and Warcry have really stepped up their game. And even the Horus Heresy has put out some fantastic miniatures, including a Primarch this year in Lionel Johnson. So, anyway, that's enough of me chatting. I'm going to go into my top 10. I'll go through the first 9, and we'll give some honourable mentions to one that made my short list for my top 10. I'll talk a little bit about all the different miniatures that came out during this year, and why I picked this one in my list, whether or not I was umming and ahhing over it, was it close or whatever. And then we'll get to my number 1 right at the end. So if you want to see what my Miniature of the Year is, you can just skip right to the end. But please stick around. I'd love to hear some thoughts on what you think of my particular list. Are there any you're not fond of on my list? Are there any you really like and think should be higher on my list? Are there any I missed out? Anyway, let's get into the list. And so, starting off our list of my top 10 miniatures is number 10, Szarekh the Silent King. I've probably terribly butchered that name, so yeah, there's that. But for me, this is just an awesome miniature. When the Necrons got re-released at the start of 9th edition for Warhammer 40,000, I was excited. I've always liked Necrons. One of the biggest things for me is that I always said their baseline troops and just their characters were a little bit not that cool. Terrible might be a word to describe the old Necron warriors, and that was the biggest thing stopping me getting into Necrons. I still haven't built my Indominus box set, but I've got it sitting there ready to build. Hopefully get some 40k done so we can have it on the channel next year. But definitely for me, the coolest Necron model to come out was the Silent King. He just looks menacing, imposing. I love the idea that he's not some gargantuan creature like so many of the other big characters are just becoming. Like, he's not massive like, say, Guilliman the Primarch, or like the Daemon Primarchs, Mortarion and Magnus, or even big like what's his name? I was about to say Godrak. We're thinking AOS there, not 40k. Ghazghkull Thraka. He's not massive like that, but he is just, he shows power in the way this model is standing. He just looks menacing. Everything about it looks cool. I love the 2 little pillars on the side of him as well. And just, I mean, the paint job on this is really cool and really does do it a good lot of justice. I know some aren't a fan of metallic paints, but, you know, I'm colorblind, so it looks pretty good to me. But yeah, he's just an imposing looking miniature. He was my favourite part of the Necron release. I haven't picked him up yet, so maybe I'll go pick him up and get him painted in the new year. And we'll get some Necrons on the channel maybe, but definitely my number 10 is the Silent King, without a doubt. Best model in the Necron release, maybe the best model in Indominus, maybe. But yeah, number 10, Szarekh the Silent King. Number 9 for me, Ordo Xenos, Lord Inquisitor, Kyria Draxus. So, we're starting off with 240k models, which is weird because everyone knows I'm mainly an AOS player, but for those who didn't know, back before AOS, or when AOS was in its early years, I was a lot more into 40k at that point. And Deathwatch were my army of choice. I'm a big fan of the Ordo Xenos. I love the whole anti-alien stuff. And for me, one of the coolest things in Ordo Xenos is the fact you have these radical Inquisitors that use Xenos weaponry against Xenos. I love the idea of it. You can see here this Lord Inquisitor lady. She has a shuriken catapult, an Eldar weapon. She's got what looks like some weird Tyranid sort of creature on her shoulder as well. And she just looks awesome. I like the facial features of her, like the very stern, almost Eldari-like features to the face that she's got. Maybe there's something there, maybe there's not. I mean, she's got pointed ears as well. It's all really cool. It's just a stunning model. For me, I got into Ordo Xenos back when I started playing role-playing games. I picked up the Deathwatch role-playing game books from Fantasy Flight Games, and my love for Deathwatch all started there, and Ordo Xenos all started with that. We picked them up thinking they were actual Warhammer 40k books, and then realised what role-playing was and got into role-play games through that. But that's a story for another day. And that's really where my love, and just seeing a actual Ordo Xenos Inquisitor model come out, because there's just not a lot of them out there. Well, there was no named character. You had the ones for the Daemon Hunters and the Witch Hunters, and you had all those cool models, but there was no actual Ordo Xenos sort of properly looking Ordo Xenos Inquisitor. I'm happy to see it. Maybe I get a Deathwatch army, Primarch army with her as an ally or something. I'm not sure how 40k works. If I can do that, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know how I could work getting her and some Deathwatch in the same army. But number 9 for me, Ordo Xenos Lord Inquisitor, Kyria Draxus. Number 8, and we complete, I guess, sort of the trifecta of games and models I don't play at the moment. We've got a Horus Heresy character, and that is, of course, the Primarch that was released this year, Lionel Johnson, Primarch of the Dark Angels. For me, this is one of the best Primarch models they've done to date. He's right up there for me with things like Ferrus Manus and Eltharion, who are two of my favourite Primarch sculpts. He just looks awesome. I love the idea of these Night Lords coming up to him and him just going with his giant sword, just going, nope, you die, and you die some more, and you die twice. I like both heads. The helmeted one is probably that little bit better for me, but the unhelmeted head, the normal head with no helmet, is still cool. I really like the model, everything about it. I like the movement in his swing, how it looks like this guy's taking one last valiant shot as the lion's about to swing and utterly destroy him. It's a cool model, and I really, really like it. And not going to lie, this made me want to get into 30k and pick up some Dark Angels, and I might have picked up a few Dark Angels or some 30k models. Maybe you'll see them on the channel in the future. I do have them, and maybe I'll go pick up Lion to lead the force, because it's a cool looking model. So maybe you'll see some 30k over the next year, because definitely in the next year what we want to do is get some more games other than Age of Sigmar on the channel. But cool model. My number 8 for the year, Lionel Johnson, the Primarch of the Dark Angels, the Lion. Coming in at number 7, we have the first, I guess, unit to come out in my top 7, well, my top 10 rather, and that is the Vanari Auralan Wardens from the Lumineth Realm Lords release. They are by far my favourite unit that came out with Lumineth Realm Lords. I've actually got some sitting on the paint desk at the moment. I'm painting up the champion, which I built exactly like the one in the picture here. But they are just awesome looking models. I love the giant pikes on them. I really, really like that they're so massive like they are. It makes me happy. I know people hate how they have to transport them and stuff like that, but for me, just having pikes and spears and stuff that are big and look like pikes and spears is cool. I'll figure out how to transport them. I'll solve that issue. Magnet tray seems like the way to go, but for me, these are elves, and old looking elves. They've got that slight sort of Age of Sigmar aesthetic to them. They're not too over the top like some other models in the Lumineth Realm Lords range that some people were a little bit indifferent to. Not that I don't like those models, but for me, I think these are the best models in the range. The champions look especially cool. I like the commanding sort of pose that they're holding. I like the little, I guess, Lanzin that he's holding as well. It's all really cool. Everything about the models, the shields are really good. I love the detail, how there's detail on the back of the shields as well. There's like padding and all that sort of stuff. It's really cool on the back of the shields as well. they're just great models all round. I really do rate these models, and I'm enjoying painting them at the moment. So we'll have some Luminous Realm Lords coming very soon to the channel. So number 7, Vanari Auralan Wardens. Number 6, the biggest model released this year, or at least I think he's the biggest model in ARS released this year by far, the Mega-Gargant. This is an amazing kit. I don't think there was any more release more excited for this year than maybe Warhammer 40k 9th edition, but for me, I don't think I saw any more hype than for Gargants. These models are amazing. When we got the first little teaser ages ago, that leaked little, I guess, shipping document saying Sons of Behemoth War Scroll cards and Sons of Behemoth Battle Tome, the internet went into an absolute flurry of just desire and fervor and anticipation and excitement for these release. And the Mega-Gargant, it didn't disappoint. It's an absolute stunning kit. This here, the Kraken Eater, is my personal favorite. I know there's quite a lot of people that like different ones, and I think that speaks really good volumes of the kit. That I know heaps of people like the Kraken Eater. I know plenty like the War Stomper and plenty like the Gatebreaker. They're all really popular. I think that speaks good volumes to the kit, that all the variations of this kit are all really popular. The kit in general is just amazing. The bits and pieces you get spare from a Gargant kit, it reminds me so much of when the old Hourglass of Gargant was released back in Fantasy. That kit came out when I was in the middle of playing Fantasy as a much younger teenager. I remember picking one up and all my friends picking a Gargant up as well, or a Giant back in those days as they were called, up, and just enjoying building them with my friends. Everyone had their own Giant. We all made our cool different little Giants. We all had our own names, and that for me is what can be done with this kit. You'll get those spare bits. They'll find their way on battlefields and on other models' bases as well. It's just a cool, amazing looking kit. I don't think many kits topped it this year, and definitely not by putting it in my number 6. For me, it's great. It's awesome. It's one of the funnest kits, and the one that I am probably most excited to actually get and paint out of anything released this year. Doesn't necessarily mean it's my favorite, but I'm most excited to get this kit and start working on a Gargant. I really can't wait to get my Gargant. Still got to pick one up. Haven't got the battle tome, got the cards, need to pick up a Gargant. So number 6 for me, the Mega-Gargant. Coming in at number 5, halfway down our top 10 list now, are the Bladeguard Veterans from the Indomitus box set for Primaris Space Marines. This is just an awesome thing. I've always liked veteran Space Marines. I like the little bit of crusade and extra stuff that veterans always got for Space Marines. It's why I tended to go lean to more towards, I would say, Blood Angels and Dark Angels, preferring them over regular Space Marines, is just because of all that extra little, I guess, bling that they have. But the Bladeguard Veterans, for me, have that, and they're on regular Space Marines, meaning I can use some of those chapters like Genesis, Blood Drinkers, and Eagle Warriors and Nova Marines and stuff like that I like in the lore, with getting some of the cooler looking models as well. Veterans, for me, were always that, so I love using veterans like that. So yeah, these are just an awesome kit. They've got some really great customization within them. They've got amazing looking storm shields. I like the little pouches for their bolt pistols at the front, the tabards and all that sort of stuff. The helmets are really nice on these models as well. I think the Primaris Marines just are looking better and better. I know people are complaining that we're getting more and more Primaris while we're not getting anything else in Warhammer 40k, but Primaris Marines look cool, so I'm not going to complain about getting cool looking models, though, you know, I play Eldar for one of my armies for 40k, so I understand not getting stuff, but cool models are cool models for me, and the Bladeguard Veterans are definitely a cool model kit that I like to see more of. So number 5 for me, smack bang in the middle of my top 10 list, are the Bladeguard Veterans. Coming in at number 4, we have the Scions of the Flame from the latest Warcry starter box, so the Underworld Warhammer Warcry Catacombs box set. They're just amazing. For me, the best thing I like about this warband is the variety of models while retaining the same aesthetic. You've got the Initiates who are not that armored. They've got the cool little weapons, but then you've got the like the Priest, the Burning Lord, the Immolator, and all these different character models in there, each tying into the same sort of flaming, scaly aesthetic that they've all got, but each looking their own individual part as well. they look together, but they all are individuals within the kit. It's a really awesome kit. I was toying up between which one I like better when this box originally came out, whether it was the K-Knight Shadowstalkers or the Scions of the Flame. And in the end, I think the K-Knight Shadowstalkers are cool, but the Scions of the Flame grew on me more and more and more. And particular models in this kit are just amazing. The Burning Lord, or Blazing Lord, whatever he is called, the leader there with a giant two-handed flamberge and a good lot of armor is just amazing. I think it's one of the best models in Warcry out of anything. And yeah, they're just awesome models. Even the initiates are really cool. I love like the female initiate with the brazier. You can see at the back left there. It's just a bunch of cool looking models. Even the priest that's blowing the flame on his sword. And you get looking, it's got like pursed lips on the model that are actually blowing the flame out. So when it lines up, it looks like he's blowing, the flame is flowing away from his mouth. It's a really cool model. Definitely number 4, Scions of the Flame. Let's get into the top 3. Coming in at number 3, we have the Dark Angels Legion Deathwing Companions. I talked a little bit about how excited I was for some of the 30k models that came out with Lionel Johnson this year. And for me, these are the best models that came out for 30k this year. The Dark Angels Legion Deathwing Companions. They are amazing. I talked a little bit before as well when talking about the Bladeguard Veterans. So I like Space Marines with a bit of bling on them. And these models here, they just have that little bit of bling that makes them amazing. Particular favorites are the middle at the back and the middle on the right models. They're really cool. Even the front right model are pretty much the ones. They're my definite favorites. The other two are cool, but those 3 are just amazing looking sculpts. I think these are some of the best Legion-specific troops that have come out in the Horus Heresy in its entirety. They are just amazing-looking models and really making me want to take that dip into 30k more and more. And these ones might have been the tipping point for me that's going to make me get into 30k because they're just stunning. Everything about them is cool. They've got great posing, great-looking ornamentation. Everything about them is cool. And I can't wait to get some eventually and get some 30k happening on the channel for you all. But number 3, Dark Angels Legion Deathwing Companions. Number 2, and it honestly was a close fought thing between my 2 favorite kits released this year. And just number 2, I think I've got this in the right order for me personally. It was a tough decision, is the Ogroid Myrmidon. This is one of the coolest models Games Workshop have ever released, I think. It's one of the coolest models they have available in any range. It just looks awesome. I love the idea of the Ogroids. Ever since I saw the Thaumaturge all that time ago in Warhammer Age of Sigmar Silver Tower, I've loved the idea of Ogroids. I love the Myrmidon. I love the Fomoroid Crusher as well. Oh, he was another great miniature that didn't make it onto my list. Didn't even make it onto my short list, unfortunately. But the Myrmidon is just fantastic. The open pose, the snarling face, the idea that he's ready, growling at his next combatant in the pits somewhere in the 8 points. Everything about this model is just amazing. It looks stunning in every way. Pose, facial features, the presence it gives off, everything about it is awesome. I can't say enough nice things about it. Like, I really like this model. But it didn't make my number 1. It didn't make number 1 just. And so let's go into some honorable mentions and then we'll come back with number 1. For me, these are some of my honorable mentions on the list. We've got the Tzeentch Magister on Disc, Morgrave's Blade, Coven. We've got Airmere, Marshal of the Riddermark. And lastly, we've got those Blood Bowl referees who are bloody amazing. But on to... And number 1 for me this year, the best miniature kit that Games Workshop have released is the Light of Eltharion. For me, this is just an absolutely stunning kit. I love everything about it. Like, the model itself looks cool, but then the extra things about it, like, it's a suit of armor with no one inside. How did they get to balance this? And when you start looking at the miniature and the kit and how they've managed to make this model actually work without having a body to support that animated frame and make it look like it is actually floating, is just amazing to me. This is remarkable miniature sculpting. So I don't know which sculptor made this, but whoever made this miniature, you have done a stunning job at making this miniature work, making it look like it's floating, but also making it clear that it's hollow. There's nothing in there. I've seen fantastic conversions of this model with people using LED lights to brighten it up and make the actual Light of Eltharion a thing and make it light. But just on the basis, even without flashy effects, this is a stunning model, and easily my favorite model this year. I say easily, it was close between this and the Myrmidon. But yeah, I think it's the design and the ability to make this model be hollow and look like the parts are floating, that pushes it over the top of that Thermatorch, just looking cool. This model looks cool, and it is an amazing job of miniature design and sculpting as well on top. For me, the Light of Eltharion is the best miniature Games Workshop ever released this year. And I'd love to know your thoughts and your favourite miniature release this year as well as other miniatures you think maybe should have been higher on my list, or maybe you think, in your opinion, they should be higher and they would be higher on your list, or some that you don't think would even make your list. I'd love to know all your different opinions on this. This is just a bit of fun talking about miniatures that we like, and I'd like to know what everyone else has liked this year. Are there any miniatures on my list that you really like and you would have had as your number one, or are there any miniatures on my list that you didn't like at all and would not even be considered on your own short list for 10 miniatures? I want to know all those opinions. But for me, number one, the Light of Eltharion. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to come chat with the members of our community and myself more, you can do so by following the link to our Discord server down below. Also, a special shout out to everyone who supports the channel in various different ways. A shout out to all our Patreon members, our Sinful Guard Militia members, Christian Weir, Philip Ward, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Auralan Shot First, Chaos Spawn, and James Crowder, and our Sinful Free Guild Regiment members, James and AJC. Thank you all so much for your support. It means the world to us that you support us like you do. If you'd like to help support us like these fine gentlemen do, then you can do so by following the link down to our Patreon in the description below, or joining our YouTube members channel as well. Both these ways help support the channel so much more. But that's it for today, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.